Everybody, welcome to the OK Grognard Show. It is Monday, December 14th, 2020, 10 a.m. Central, in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Well, it's Monday, and that means it's weekly news and announcements day. Brought to you by 30 Things Can Happen. Creative Mountain Games, excellent system-free source book for medieval fantasy RPGs. It's a source book. Sup, Mandalorian man. Red Barn Games, how you been? Good to see you out. Good to see you out. Been a little while. Hope everything's going okay with you. Let's see here. We'll put Rick in the thing. This is for this week's. I did have a person who accepted. I gave away a copy of 30 Things Can Happen to one person from last week. And that person was Scottish Jeff, who was in here. Red Barnes, busy, all's good. That's good. It's good to be busy. I like being busy. I like being busy because, I don't know, feels better at the end of the day when you've been productive. I mean, every now and then it's nice to have a day off and do nothing, but honestly, that's, I think I enjoy those days less than days when I'm busy. Roosevelt. Okay, I'm still getting some email through my old email, especially this time of year, from Roosevelt University, where I went for grad school. All the schools hit you up around the holidays for money, especially this year, because everybody's hurting. Everybody's hoping to get more funding and hoping to get more of this and that, and it's tough. It's very tough. Well, take care of yourself, take care of your fam, take care of your friends, and then take care of anybody else you can. I've done a few good deeds this year, but would like to have been able to do more. Hopefully everybody tightens their belt, gets through this one, gets through the end of the COVID era, which will end when everybody takes a vaccine. So just take the damn vaccine. There aren't going to be any chips in there. Nobody really cares where you go. Nobody really wants to keep track of you when you go into Burger King. Find out whether you're ordering 2 Whoppers or 1. Nobody gives a crap. Just take the vaccine. There aren't any chips. We need to get this thing straightened out so we can get back to normal. If you want to scream and cry about getting back to normal and then don't want to take the vaccine, it's only you're only being hypocritical. You're being a knucklehead. Don't do it. You don't want to be called a knucklehead. It's the worst thing to be called in the world. Hey, so Jeff McKay. Well, we got one more week. This week is the last week that we will keep a list this year for a giveaway. So, Red, Mandalorian Man, Yodastein, Lexfire 22, Jail Rune. Right on. We'll get you on that list too for this week. Next Monday will be our last show of the year, the 21st of December. We will take 2 weeks off and be back on January 4th, Monday, with a Monday show. In the new year, we will be doing 2 scheduled shows a week. Monday and Thursday, 10 a.m. Central, from beautiful like Geneva, Wisconsin. You know the drill. And those shows will probably be a bit meatier. Monday show will generally be outside the game stuff. Weekly news and announcements, telling you about conventions coming up, doing some GM reviews on various things you might pick up to help you with your game. There's going to be a lot of non-gaming material, movies, television shows, books, things that you can bring into the game and use to help you create a better setting or run a more dynamic game. And Thursday will be a show about in the game. Stuff about rules, stuff about building a setting, building adventures, mapping, running a campaign, running adventures, GMing tips for all of that stuff. That'll be the inside the game show. So we'll do out and in, out and in, out and in every week. And that'll be on Thursday. Sometimes those will be longer. I'm going to schedule it for a half hour, but if it runs longer, I'm not going to be as scrambling to get off as I am on these daily shows like I am, knowing that I've got another one the next day. Since one show will be about a theme that I can't even sneak in on another show until the following week, that'll kind of be the thing. So regularly scheduled shows on Monday and Thursday in the new year. And then we'll also do some pop-up shows, if you will. I don't know what else to call them at this point. I haven't figured it out. Something I'll think about over those 2 weeks. But, I'm going to try to get try to run some games with people on the stream. So if that's something you're interested in doing, drop me a private message in Twitch or on Facebook or any of the social media platforms that you know that I'm on already. I've got links to all of those below the shows on Twitch and on YouTube. Just shoot me a message if you're interested in maybe doing one of those. And when we get into the new year, we'll start trying to put stuff like that together. I don't want to get too far into it before then because I want to finish up this last week and then I want to take a couple of weeks away. This is show 277. So I've been doing these daily since last March 26th, and I think maybe I didn't do a 10 a.m. show one day, but I did one later. And I think for a while, early on I was doing them at 10:30, I think, right? So that changed. Or I was doing them at 11 at first, and then I switched to 10:30, and then I switched to 10. And I did a few unscheduled extra shows in the evenings sometimes. I just wanted to see what sort of traction I might get if I was doing evening shows. I think I eventually determined it wasn't my scene, but I also wanted to do shows when the store opens back up, when I'm back there. I don't want to have to reschedule the show at that point or change it, drastically change it. So I've kind of got to do these shows at times when the store is definitely going to be closed. And doing them early in the morning, 10 a.m. each day, was something I could do and finish up and then get ready and go to work if I worked on the weekends at noon. And, of course, the store doesn't open until later during the week. Hey, man. Henryrmitage, good to have you here, Bob. Add you in on the new week's list. Always a good thing. with the new year, Monday and Thursday, I'll be able to do those shows and have plenty of time, even if they run long, before I would have to go into the store. So that's a good thing. It's going to be a while for the store yet. With a vaccine on the horizon, though, it won't be as long as anybody was worried about before. I did have a good weekend. I enjoyed myself. I got in on a regular original edition D&D 1974 D&D, three little booklets D&D game yesterday, which I do every other week on Sundays with Dirk Collins, who was an excellent GM. He has a huge old world. We're just in one little section of it. Not so little. We're mid-level OD&D characters. We have factions. We help organize a city. You caught up on The Mandalorian? Good. That'll please Mandalorian Man. Right, Rick? You've been enjoying that show, I'm sure. Both of you. I'm caught up on it myself. Very much enjoying it. On Sunday evening, I go to progrock.com and I go into the chat room there while they are recording a live show called Music in Widescreen, which is all about prog rock. He does a lot of interviews with current prog rocksters. You look through their history, they got some older ones too. I mean, they got like interviews with Steve Hackett and other long time guys from Big Train, other long time prog rock musicians, and a couple down in Chicago, Mark and Raina, do this out of their home. They do some live concerts. Back pre-COVID times, handful of times a year, they'd have whoever was in town on tour come and do an extra day. Right on. I'm an old Genesis fan. Yes, Rush, Pink Floyd. I always mention them because they're the big names everybody remembers, but of course there's plenty of names that are a little further afield. King Crimson. They're bands that you may not have heard of. But yeah, those are all prog bands, and man, I love that music. I know Rick's more of a headbanger himself. It's probably the people in the... King Crimson's fantastic. There's certain songs I think cross over between different genres of music. But 6 p.m. Central to 9 p.m. Central on progrock.com, you will find Music in Widescreen being hosted by Mark and Raina, playing lots of music, and they featured Unitopia last night, which is, interestingly enough, got a friend down that way. They've got an Australian contingent down that way. And UPF sit right in Adelaide, where Heath is from, for those of you who know our buddy Heath from the Antipodean D20. Sent me this cozy. I love Australia. I do. I've never been there. Someday I will get down there. He said, being almost 60 and knowing the icy hand of death is right outside his door. Oh, COVID. Leave me be. Let me get to Australia someday. Anyway, would be nice. I'd like to get to Ireland, too. I'd like to get over to England and Europe. I'd like to do like a castle tour. That would be cool, right? Just going down the Rhine on some big boat. Podcast stickers. What do they call? At first, I thought you wrote pot stickers. Yeah, hit me on, what's its name? Hit me on Facebook and PM there, and we'll figure out what's what. Safe CoCast. Well, now I'm curious. You got to tell me, because I'm unaware of that. SAFCO, all capitals, cast, all one word. Safe CoCast. Some sort of a podcast. Am I saying that wrong? Or those are the people that make the stickers? Am I all over the place on this one? Yeah, am I just not making a connection I should be making? Super Adventure Friends Company. I think that's great. I think that's friggin' fantastic. The Safe Code Cast. The Super Adventure Friends Company cast. Nice. I love it. That's wonderful. Do you have like drawings of your characters that are like what do they call it? I do not play 4E. I have played 4E. I've never run 4E. You know, it's the one D&D that I have never DM'd. There's a trivia question if it ever comes up. I've DM'd basic, first edition, second edition, original, third, 3.5, fifth, even Pathfinder. I've never DM'd fourth edition. Like I say, I played it. For me, fourth edition was always just it was a lot more like a miniature skirmish game, which, don't get me wrong, I love that. It's as that though, it's not very streamlined. So if you were to play like Frostgrave or well, heck, just about any of the Osprey miniature skirmish games, and obviously they have a lot that are outside the medieval fantasy genre, but Lion Rampant is a medieval one. Dragon Rampant is a medieval fantasy version of Lion Rampant. What was that guy's name? Mercer? Mercy. Daniel Mercy, I want to say. Got it on my shelf. I don't have it in front of me. Because I'm an old miniatures wargamer since the early 70s, so I love any kind of rule set that'll let me do some chainmail. I was playing chainmail before D&D was even invented back in 1973. So it's kind of my roots. And I'll tell you what 4th edition did for D&D was quantify a sort of a mechanical miniatures skirmish game in a way that hadn't been done for D&D before. But I think for most people, if you have a game that's mainly a miniature skirmish game with kind of a thin veneer of role-playing on top of it, and I'm not saying that any D&D game role-playing aspects aren't a lot thinner than the mechanics, but that's going to be true of any role-playing game. Role-playing games can quantify certain aspects of the game, and the parts of the game that are easiest or most needed to be quantified are the combat rules and the mechanics of the game in general. Role-playing, how do you really quantify that? Let's pretend. Okay, that's all the rules. You don't have to talk in character. You can play a role-playing game and do it in third person. You can say, okay, well, say my character's name is Grognard the Fighter. Well, Groggy's going to go into a tavern now, and Groggy's going to go up and order his favorite large ale, and then Groggy's going to take that over to a table, and he's going to sit there, and he's going to look around the... So you can play the whole game in a sort of a third person and never actually... Well, Groggy's got to ask that guy why he's wearing that hat. You don't ever have to say, hey, why are you wearing that hat? You don't have to play in first person if you don't want to. You can go in and out of first and third. You can refer to your character as your character. You don't have to even refer to your character by name. You can say, okay, well, my PC's going to go over, or you can say, I'm going to go over, but never do a voice, never actually speak in your character's voice. There are so many ways of role-playing that quantifying it as a rule can downright ruin a role-playing game because it limits what you are saying your game finds acceptable. So role-playing has to be very open. You can help people with different ideas, but as soon as you say you've got to do it this way, you take away some of the very essence, some of the agency that role-playing games are going to have. So 4th edition did this other thing where it went the other way. It did quantify some mechanics of a role-playing. I think they're like skill checks, or what do they call them? God, it's been so long. You still with us, Drifter 88, or did you Drifter 88 off? I don't see you in the group anymore. You decided not to stick around because I don't do 4th edition, huh? Some people are not comfortable playing fully in character. It's true. And you don't want to force anybody to be uncomfortable at the table or counterproductive to what you're trying to do, right? But they had these 3 roll things, 3 successes. You could do a role-playing encounter. You could say, well, I'm trying to convince the guard to let us pass. Okay. You could add to that and say, well, I'm telling him that we need to get in because my sister has been captured by some bandits and we have to get past here to go find the bandits. Okay, we'll go ahead and roll. So maybe they give you a plus or a minus on the roll based on what you said. And you would have to do like 3 checks or get 3 successes. And I think you had to get 3 successes before you had 3 failures. It's been a while. It's been, what, over 6, 7 years, right? 2014 was when 5th edition came out. So, I'm going on 7 years almost. It's kind of the sweet spot for them to start talking about doing a new edition, by the way. 7, 8 years. So watch yourself. 4th came out in 2008. 2000, 3rd came out. We'll gloss over the fact that 3.5 wasn't really an edition unto itself. It's the 3.xe era. So the amount of time that the shelf life of an edition has been smaller and smaller. It may be that because 5th edition has been going strong on this sort of slow roll of additional books, they've kind of found a working business model that seems to produce high results with low overhead. Putting out a book 3-4 times a year, or some accessories for 5th, and just relying on core rule book sales to keep increasing, which they seem to be doing. Why go to a 6th edition too fast, right? So maybe that's the plan. Maybe they'll stick with 5th edition a little longer. And maybe because of COVID, they've kind of put the pause button on any plans. I mean, how much you can telecommute a lot of work, though. But I would have to say, oh, there it is. Okay. Gotcha, Bob. We'll check that out when we get off the show. Anyway, it may well be that 6th edition won't come out as soon as we think. Although, I've been keeping an eye on hirings at Wizards of the Coast. That's usually what I use as an indicator of when they're looking at starting a new edition. And it would seem by some of the hirings they've made in the last, pre-COVID in the last year, up to the COVID situation, that they were gearing up to at least start kicking around ideas in-house, figure out what they wanted to change and what they didn't want to change. A lot of times, books like Tasha's and whatnot, any books that introduce a fair number of new rules are often them testing the waters on the kind of rules that they might want to put in the next edition. So there are a number of indicators that say that they're quietly beginning to work on, at least quietly beginning. Maybe they've gone further. Maybe they're so quiet we can't hear them. Working on a 6th edition, which is inevitable. I don't want to scare anybody, but just understand. Yeah, 2014, Bob. 2014 was July of 2014 was when the starter set for 5th edition came out. They dropped the streamlined basic rules, free online, that fall. Over the course of 3 months, they put out the Player's Handbook, DMG, Monster Manual. Was it in that order? It wasn't in 1st edition order. So, if you ever want to have some fun, do a little, I wonder if I have a link to it. I probably do. Some people might find it interesting to check out my 5th edition starter set quest. July 4th, 2014. I did a series of blog posts over 2.5 months that detailed my group and I checking out the starter set. We were playing 1st edition up to that point. A group that I was running a campaign for a couple of years. And then we decided, it's a new edition. Let's check it out. I'll run that. There are pre-gens. Everybody can play those. Yeah, you can read it after the show, but don't try to read it all in one chunk. I think there's 8 or 10 blog posts. We played almost every week. We ran it for about 2.5, 3 months. So there's a bunch of blog posts. They just follow on. There's a link at the bottom of each one for the next one. It details us grognards playing in a 1st edition game. And some people kept playing 5th edition. Some people became Pathfinder players. Some stuck with 3rd edition. Some went back to 1st edition. It was all over the place, but it was nice checking it out. I ran 2 more 5th edition campaigns and played in a handful of 5th edition games. A handful of Adventure League games and some non-Adventure League, just games at conventions and stuff. So 5th edition's it's a fun game for sure. But 1st is my favorite, and I will always fall back on that and play 1st edition if given my druthers. So listen, we moved through the time here. 30 things that can happen. Check it out. I sent one to Jeff McKay, Scottish Jeff, and he picked it up. Hopefully he's enjoying it. I'll do that again or something else if you already have one of these. for this last week of the show. No patience for learning a bunch of new rules. Give me 1E. I hear you, Bob. That's me too. Not really. I'll learn new rules. I don't really have a problem learning new rules. Tables. I just enjoy those rules so much more. Maybe I'm just really familiar. Maybe it's like you always have a favorite pair of shoes, right? You go wear other shoes when you have to for specific things, but there's this one pair of shoes that you really, really like. You'll always go back to them. All right. Well, we're going to shut this down now. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you popping in the stream chat, and I appreciate anyone who follows the show. It's very kind of you. I do want to say this is the last week. Cartography and world building tomorrow, this Wednesday. Campaign discussion, all of these at 10 a.m. GMing tips on Thursday. Building adventures on Friday. GM reviews on Saturday. Rules retrospective on Sunday. And then next Monday, the last of the year, weekly news and announcements before I take a little vacay. If you're catching up with this on YouTube, thank you very much. Please do subscribe to the channel. And by all means, give us a thumbs up on any videos you watch and enjoy. And if you have some constructive criticism or want to talk about the theme of the show or give us a pat on the back, please do make comments in the comment section. We'd appreciate your participation. This has been the OK Grognard Show from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Bye-bye.